What exactly does the Coruscant Guard budget look like? Where do they get supplies, and do they get enough? Hi! P has read a lot of Corrie Guard fanfics and noticed this trend where they never have enough supplies. I'll let her dramatize it for you. Oh, woe are we! Our medical supplies dwindle, forcing our hands to great ingenuity, it being but sent to the forefront because they are far more crucial to this great war, as is their duty. We cannot spare but an iota of our essentials for even the highest of our troops. Does the Senate not care about thy protectors? Those whose very survival is entwined with ours? Bring down pity upon us, your brethren in red. Our men bleed upon their arm, and us poor healers have but a single back to patch betwixt us. Let us pray that our commander not find his way to the grave upon the grounds of unfamiliar worlds. For any attempt by him to leave our crime-stricken home shall bring death upon him as he bites his tongue against any foul word towards our plight. In other words, the Corries have little to no supplies because the front lines are more important. Fox gets sent to the other worlds unprepared for the same reason. The other commanders finding out about it after the environment nearly kills him. I honestly hate this trope, specifically this fan fiction trope. As it's supposed to make you feel extra sorry for the Coruscant Guard, except it makes no sense and it's not necessary to create sympathy. Fox has 4 places to get his supplies: the prison budget, military supplies, the Senate garbage, and the closed case vaults. First we'll cover where they get the prison budget. They get it from taxes, court fines, dead prisoners, and donations from prisoners and senators. All of these can fluctuate greatly, making the budget one of Fox's highest priorities. If people can't pay their taxes, then less tax money comes in. Plus, most of it is rerouted to the war front, thinning it further.
More troops are needed. The Republic cannot afford to let the Separatists gain any more ground.
Our generals inform us that troops in the field continue to perform valiantly. What we cannot afford is to be irresponsible. The Republic is near bankruptcy due to the cost of this war.
Court fines only work if the criminal can actually pay. To get it from a dead prisoner, the prisoner must not have a family, a will, bankruptcy, or death of unnatural causes, which is pretty rare. Donations from prisoners and senators only work if the thing they want is completely reasonable. If the thing they want isn't reasonable, then Fox will still use the bribe money because it was a donation. Now, you might be thinking, Fox is a clown. Clowns don't know how to handle money. It's a reasonable thought, but we have an answer. Fox, because he's the prison warden, has to handle the finances. It's one of his many duties, but to do this, he had to quickly learn how to use money. We've stated several times over that Devo trained the Coruscant Guard on how to be cops. As he wasn't going to be there long, he had to teach Fox how to handle currency. If he didn't, then the prison would break down and he'll have a much bigger problem on his hands. They would all have a much bigger problem on their hands. Fox also had to teach his men these same skills in case something drastic happened, i.e. some get stranded on a planet while on mission, Fox dies, or someone sets off a bomb inside the detention center. Little things like that. Because the budget fluctuates, Fox has to be careful on what he spends it on, only cutting corners if he doesn't have a choice. As the clones don't get paid, this saves on credits. Food is something that needs replacing often. Fox isn't going to waste it on more expensive rations, so he buys real food for both his men and the prisoners. This also keeps from taking food away from his brothers on the front lines. Hygiene products also need regular replacing. Because they guard both male and female prisoners, the military isn't going to pay for it. Laundry detergent for the prisoners is used on the black underclothes regularly, while the orange jumpsuits only need to be washed if someone bled or died. This tactic saves a few credits. Police gear like stun batons, riot shields, and police vehicles all fall under this. This doesn't need replacing or repair very often, but so it's not as high a priority, except maybe the shields. To save on water, he merely has to train the men not to take longer than 2 minutes. The prisoners would most likely only have to take showers once every few weeks, and with most of them shaved bald, only the really hairy species would need shampoo, saving money. Every time a prisoner escapes, there's security upgrades. This is the main reason Fox cuts corners. With the extra money he saved, he can upgrade any bad security so as to minimize future escapes.
Give me droids over this.
After what just happened up there, we'll need more room in here. Wait, looks like a couple of them are showing vital signs.
Electricity is highly necessary as most of it goes to keeping everything running. The war isn't going to pay for this. And last, cleaning supplies. With cleaning supplies, Fox could easily use plain vinegar to clean everything. It's cheap, effective, and easy to come by. We use it all the time. The smell is a little strong, but dissipates quickly. Plus, as the clones themselves are very clean, most of this would go to the prison, saving even more money. These monetary strategies could prepare them for harder times and give them skills to survive after Order 66. What the military can supply. Weapons and refills. Because they don't waste ammo on a large amount of targets and rely heavily on accuracy, this causes them to need blaster fuel less often. The blasters themselves likely need replacing more often due to accidentally dropping them over the side for one reason or another. Once it's gone, it's gone. Ships and fuel, the most expensive things. As they are the military police, they are required to use military vehicles. They mainly use the clone transports as they're small enough to fit in the portals. Most of the fuel would go to those. The massive vehicles with 6 wheels are mostly useless due to their unique terrain, so they don't have to give that thing much fuel, just enough to get it out of the way. It's also likely that they just store some of the vehicles in case another unit needs it, technically saving the military money. Medical supplies, the second most expensive thing on the list. Because the Coruscant Guard aren't fighting massive armies on open ground, most of their injuries aren't severe. But they do get injured more often as they can't take days off. They would be given the same amount as the field troops, but different quantities of what's required. Most of the medical supplies would be used on cuts, stab wounds, bruises, and the occasional broken bone. These would be caused by riots, hand-to-hand combat training, and miscalculations during a hunt. Fox has rules in place to minimize these injuries. They only need to really worry if there's a bomb threat, which doesn't happen all that often, or an invasion. The prisoners, because they mostly behave themselves, don't need the medical care all that often either. The worst the medics have to patch up is stabbings, bruises, and broken bones because another prisoner attacked them. They would only need to order specific things if they really needed it. Some of the more unique medical supplies would have already come from the detention center, like stomach pumps, blood filters, and autopsy tools. So you never know when someone's going to get drugged or poisoned. Armored paint. Again, because of how often they get into fights and what they deal with, they don't need new coats of paint all that often. The worst they have is rub marks, dents, and scratches. Plus, the lack of large particles in the air makes the paint last longer. And with all of them wearing a minimalist design except the commander during the first half of the war, gives them the freedom to experiment with more bolder and better paint later on. They likely don't need a fresh coat of paint until their new armor came in, hence the major shade change. The armor also would need less replacing because they're not being filled with holes on the regular. Plus, most of the fancier gear is only worn by the commanders, and it's as minimal as possible as they do add a few extra pounds that'll slow them down during a chase. Thorne didn't get this. The Senate's garbage and the closed case vaults. Senate garbage is where you would find good pajamas that is barely worn, fluffy pillows and blankets, partly broken droids, old wigs, perfume, semi-broken unique instruments, and lovely decor. Surfer droids can be repaired and reprogrammed into medical staff for the prison. Mostly the male half, as just their girly shape would calm them down. Even better if you glue an old wig on them. Or if the server droids are too physically damaged, hook it to the PA system and let it inform everyone of prison lockdowns and stuff. You know, the extra boring jobs.
Turn your weapon.
CT-9904, report to Vice Admiral Rampart's office immediately.
The cooking droids can be repaired and cook for the Corries as they don't have time to cook their own meals. The pajamas, pillows, blankets, and decorations would make the detention center more homey and mark off the clones' only zones. Instruments can be fixed and used to give the boys something fun to do when not working. Because the Senate has lavish meals every so often, the Corries could easily come in and clean it up so they don't have to dig in the trash for free food. Because all of the clones smell the same, ARF troopers would need the perfume to mark themselves so that their mastiffs can tell them apart. The closed case vaults would have everything you would find in a crime scene. As all the stuff is no longer needed to solve a case, it gets cleaned and given away. The Corries get first dibs. dishes for cooking, really nice blood-soaked chairs, different sized mattresses, toys and games, working instruments, data discs with books on them, boxes, art supplies, regular medication, toiletries, decorations, tools, hover bikes, dry and canned food, and a ton of other stuff. As it's the same building the clones live in, they don't need to go crazy trying to look for something to keep, treating it more like grandma's basement they have to clean once a month. All of this is free, so Fox is saving a lot of money with just these things alone. Plus, whatever they don't need, they can give to those less fortunate. And walking around all day, watching people is a great way to find out who's actually in need. All in all, they're doing just fine despite their lack of supplies. If anything, this removes them further from the military as they aren't solely dependent on them for survival, unlike the field troops. We did a whole video on how the Coruscant Guard are pretty removed from the Jedi. If you really want people to feel sorry for the Coruscant Guard in your fanfics, don't use the cheap trope of them suffering from a lack of supplies. Instead, have the senators treat them like slaves. Have Jedi and their troopers looking down on them out of misunderstanding, or a few civilians treating them like garbage. Because that's not only where the real problem is, but it also makes a deeper story. On the other hand, you can use the Corrie's supplies to great comedic effect. Fox goes to an ice planet wearing the whitest, fluffiest, and most fabulous winter coat over his armor, causing him to be the most successful in sneaking up on the enemy. Have angry criminals be thrown for a loop when their nurses are pre-programmed server droids in Padme's wigs and cute handmade outfits. If you want sympathy, have the Corrie Guard use their supplies to help those in need. Have a shock trooper fix a child's toy after it gets damaged in a bombing. Have them raid the closed cases for baby bottles and diapers for a dumpster baby they've adopted. Have them comfort a brother with a nice song on an instrument a senator threw away. Get creative. And that's what we got. Bye! Comment, like, and subscribe. Please don't be rude or mean. Bye!